I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is now 7 p.m. This is the regular meeting of the Kaneland Board of Education. We would like to inform all board meeting attendees that this meeting is being live streamed and archived for access at any time by our community members on the internet within 24 to 48 hours of the meeting's conclusion. If you could all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And a roll call, please.
Mr. Mankivsky.
Mr. Mankivsky? Here.
Mr. Kleisner?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Dr. Lawler?
Here.
Mr. McCauley?
Here.
Mrs. Simmons? Here. Mr. Stalcup?
Here.
All right, with 7 members, we have a quorum.
Great. Is there anything that the board would like to move from consent to new business? Nope. All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call.
Mr. Kleisner?
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Dr. Lawler?
Aye.
Mr. Stalcup?
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky?
Here. Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Agenda is approved.
Great. It is now time for board superintendent salutes. I will turn it over to Dr. Rowland.
I do not have any salutes this time. I have a bunch of stuff in my report, but no salutes.
Dr. Bogan.
No salutes this evening.
Okay, great. The board appreciates everyone in attendance this evening and invites you to stay as we move into new business portion of the meeting. We understand that not everyone is able to stay for the entire meeting, and we wanted to make sure you know that this is an open meeting so that you are able to come and go as you need, and we look forward to seeing you at future meetings. Tonight's consent agenda that contains the following information: action items, approval of accounts payable and payroll, December 2025, Treasurer's Report, December 2025, approval of meeting minutes from December 15th, 2025, approval of personnel, approval of destruction of audio recordings from closed session meetings from July 2024, approval of school fees for 26-27, approval of health insurance broker, informational items, second quarter budget report, student suspension data report, Freedom of Information Act report, field trip notification report. I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent items listed.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Mrs. Simmons?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Dr. Lawler?
Aye.
Mr. Stalcup?
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky?
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. The consent agenda is approved.
We use the public comment section as an opportunity to listen to our stakeholders. The board does not debate or engage in conversation during this time. I'd like to remind everyone to state your name and village of residence for the record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Public comment is a maximum of 30 minutes with a 20-minute total length of time for any one subject. Those who speak are asked to maintain a tone of courtesy and civility. Okay. And Patty Reeder.
Hi, my name's Patty Reeder. I'm 7th grade math teacher at Harder, KEA's chief negotiator, community member, and parent of 2 current Kaneland students. Tonight I'm here on behalf of the Spread the Love Food Drive Committee to help raise awareness and share information about a district-wide effort currently underway to support families in our community who may be experiencing food insecurity. Kaneland School District, in partnership with KEA and Speak, our local bargaining units, is launching the Spread the Love Food Drive. After the holidays, donations to food pantries often drop off, even though the need does not. The winter months can be especially challenging for many families, which makes continued support beyond the holiday season very important. The food drive started today and will go through Wednesday, February 4th. Each school and grade level has been asked to collect specific items, and all the donations can be dropped off at any Kaneland school during the collection period. For any community members without school-age children, we would encourage you to donate any items from the list to whichever school you live closest to. And we're also accepting monetary donations through the Kaneland Foundation. There's a flyer with the list of all the needed items on the Kaneland website and the different social media platforms. Then from February 4th through the 11th, our staff of volunteers will sort and prepare for distribution to the Kaneland families, which will take place on February 12th and 13th here at Harder Middle School. All donations, both food and monetary, will go directly toward supporting families right here in our community. Even a small contribution can make a meaningful difference. So thank you for your time, and thank you for helping us spread the love and support our Kaneland families.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, it is now time to hear an update from our committee meetings that met this evening. We'll begin with the Education Committee.
Yes, we had, Fran Evelson talked to us about the process for outplacement. We went through the kind of the steps they go through, the criteria they use, the data they use in order to determine whether or not a student needs to be outplaced or can remain in their home school. And then also we talked about the process of how students return back once they are outplaced. So there's kind of a threshold that they work through. They start with kind of doing maybe a couple classes to see if it's working, and they move to like 50% of the classes, and they finally transition back to the full 100% relocation back. And so we just talked about that process and how they go through that, and then we also she asked us any questions that we had about that process and how we can maybe communicate that to our students. So that's where we're at. I think I got everything.
The HR Committee.
Yes, and so Dr. Atkins and Mrs. Reeder and I had a conversation about a framework for a potential hybrid work environment to modernize and to be able to recruit the best talent that we can. And this would apply to non-unionized, very specific positions, and typically seasonal in the summer, where certain Kaneland staff members may be able to work home 1 or 2 days a week. And so we went through how that would be presented, what kind of plans the staff would need, and how this would look at Kaneland on a day-to-day basis. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. The first item of new business is discussion of capital planning for 2026-27 and 2027-28. Dr. Bolden, if you could provide more information, please.
Yes, thank you. We do have Mr. Payton here tonight as well, in case we have any very specific questions. But tonight we wanted to go through a recap. Last month we did present capital planning for the 26 and 27 summers at our Finance and Facility Committee meeting, and we did have some good discussion there. I think the biggest thing that came out of that was the request for some additional information, like really looking and seeing like what are all the items sort of on the list when we talk about capital projects, the big equipment pieces, things like that. So you will find a spreadsheet attached to this memo as well. It does have information, you know, what the specific piece of equipment is, what the item is, when it was installed, what its expected life is, when it needs to be replaced. And so that is definitely one of the huge pieces that Mr. Payton and myself that we look at when we're talking about capital planning. Throughout this process, annually, we also meet with department heads and building leadership, with building principals, to find out, you know, what their priorities are, what they've identified as needs in their building as well. And so we do take all of that into account. The other big piece this year that we looked at when we thought about future planning is obviously the referendum, right? All of the projects happening in the referendum. And so in order to come up with the capital projects, we really tried to prioritize things in a couple of different ways. One of the things was looking at, okay, what are those items that aren't necessarily on the referendum construction project list, but are really sort of adjacent to it, where it may make sense for us to include them in projects this summer, either due to economies of scale or having specific contractors on site doing other type of work, that we could also have some additional work done. So as we go through that, you will see some of those items as well. And then as always, you know, we always look at how do we address that operational safety piece. Anything that's sort of that life, health, safety, you know, gets moved to the top of the list. And then also really just thinking about, okay, sequencing of different projects and how do we maximize summertime to sort of get the most work done. So that's really the biggest piece. That's how we sort of went through the process. For summer of 26, currently we do have several projects that we are prioritizing that we'd be looking to move forward with. It's just over $1.4 million. I do want to call out a couple of things on here. You will notice that we do have some stairwell flooring that we've added to this list. That was not part of the original scope of referendum projects at KBK and KME. But those stairwell treads do need to be addressed. And so we already have people in the building this summer that is going to be replacing carpeting. And so that's why we've included it now. We already have those contractors on site. It makes sense to include that there. And then also the same thing goes for at Stewart and Shields. We are doing playgrounds at all 4 elementaries, but we also looked at, okay, playground surfacing was not in the original scope of projects, but we know that we're getting new equipment. Now would be a great time to sort of finish those off. And so we're looking at redoing the playground surfacing. So right now we have wood mulch at most of our locations, and then at one we have some rubber mulch. So we would be looking to go to a different type of surface. We've looked at poured-in place, like that sort of rubberized surface. We've also looked at some turf, some synthetic grass options as well. And that, I believe, is the direction that we are leaning when we talk about longevity, maintenance, sort of that ongoing care. And then the other big thing on here is equipment for the auditorium. We have a wheelchair lift, and it is not operational, and we know that it needs to be replaced. This has been an item that has been working intermittently at best for a number of years, so we do know we need to address it. This is also an item that may potentially come off the list for this coming summer. We are going to be working with our architect to get us the number of accessible seats that we need on the ground floor, and to find out, is there an alternative of putting in or essentially taking out some seats on that first floor to make it accessible so that we wouldn't need to utilize a lift. So we are looking at that. So that may be an alternate. And then same thing, we really took the same approach for the summer of 27. There is going to be lots of work being done at the high school. So you will notice that many of these projects are happening at the elementary school, with 2 projects happening at the high school right now. So this, for 27, this is very much a proposal and may change, but we are trying to get ahead on some of these things, just in terms of what we need and what we know is coming. So the total for the summer of 27 right now is approximately $1.3 million. We do know that there are additional items that we want to address. Lunchroom seating at Kaneland High School, wrestling mats, shot clots, some flooring in the auditorium, railing improvements. At elementary schools, continuing to make sure that our parking lots are safe, that walkway improvements are done. Playground enhancements was something that we heard, carpet replacements, those things, as you know, are being taken care of in the referendum. The other piece that we heard from the elementaries is, as well as the middle school, furniture replacements, and making sure that we're coming up with a plan. So how do we update our current instructional spaces? That is something that Dr. Rolwing and myself are working on. It is sort of adjacent to the referendum. How do we get that? So that may be a piece that we will update for the summer of 27 as well. To tonight, there's no request for action on this. This would come back for approval at the January 26th board meeting as part of the consent agenda.
Yeah, I have two questions. Just clarification on lift equipment replacement. Is that what kind of lift?
Yeah, so it's a wheelchair lift. So
Oh.
in our
Oh, that's what
auditorium,
okay.
yep, we have a wheelchair lift, and it takes people to the second floor.
Okay, perfect. And then what is the decision, just because this is a lot of money, $1 million over 2 years for playground surfacing?
Mm-hmm.
What is the district getting out of those $1 million?
Yeah, so I think it's really longevity and overall just usability of the play surface. I think one of the things that we hear a lot about is when we have bad weather, right? Like there are large portions of time in the spring and even the winter when there's snow or, really rain, moisture, things like that, where it's either muddy. It's just less accessible. With the playground surfacing that we're proposing putting in, it not only sort of takes care of some of those mud and drainage and water issues, but it also makes it much more accessible for all students. So students that maybe have some ambulatory issues or things like that, wheelchair accessibility, things like that, it does help improve access to the overall space.
And there's also, I think, a recapture of effort from Mr. Payton's team. Right now, they spend a decent amount of time remulching, catching the mulch
Okay.
that came out in the rain.
Yeah.
So some of that is recaptured in what his team is actually spending their time doing.
Okay.
And refocused on hopefully some more,
Urgent tasks.
yeah,
Okay.
or preventative maintenance. So that's.
Sounds good. That's still a lot of money. I just asked the rest of the board to think about that, because that's a lot of money that could be used with
Well,
staff.
my question to that too, to your point is, and it's great things, and obviously it is a need and everything, but like looking at this other list that you provided, there's so many things that are critical that seems to me, exhaust fans, pumps, and like mechanical stuff. How is that trumping?
So I do want to say, so the list provided, that is an exhaustive list of things that we have going on, not necessarily things that are only happening through capital. Some of those things are also being taken care of through the referendum. So I think,
Like John Shield Elementary, I mean, these are the elementary, so it's all the critical, that's why I'm saying,
Yep.
to Edmund's point, there's so many critical things that I guess if we can have a comparison of these are the things that are being taken, because I'm looking at that going, I think these are priority, especially when you're saying 2010, 2018, things should have been replaced, or replacement dates were, or 2026, we're talking about 2027, and,
Yeah.
can those be weighed up, brought up more versus a playground? Obviously, the playground is very important, we understand that part, but, and I know you have thinking behind it too, so I don't even know, if it's something you want to speak to, how do you prioritize? Because this list is very extensive, like you said, and there's a lot of critical, and it's just shocking that a lot of the replacement dates, some of the things were placed in 1998, and they should have been replaced back in 2008, 2013, 2018, and stuff like that. So how are these things getting taken care of?
yeah, so I think part of it, and feel free to jump in, Mark, if you want to, but some of it is, those things are working, right? Do they need to replace? Yes. Are they past end of life? Yes. But are they still functional? They are. And so I think that is one of the pieces. The other piece is really thinking about, I know that some of these, right, they're high dollar amounts, but some of those other ones are either much more, right? And so we would need to either forego doing some projects for several years to address those. So, but again, some of those are being addressed through the referendum.
I guess us having a little bit better understanding of what the prices are. So I'm not saying, oh, let's replace
Sure.
the pumps versus, and you're like, girl, that's $1 million versus we're saying $700
Right.
for this, So we have a better we're understanding
Sure.
this better, because we don't want to get into the same situation you've run into. We're at end of life, and then now we're paying a lot of money versus can we look at, I just don't want the track thing again, I don't want the boilers,
Right.
I just don't want to fall into that trap where we've pushed things down so far, and then now you've run out of, all your magic that, keeping things working and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And
Certainly.
I think, it's a long list of items, but when you're talking an exhaust fan, you're talking $2,000. A pump, $10,000. So it's the kind of things that you can, if you have to, work out of your existing maintenance operations budget versus a capital budget. And then we really tried to front load these 2 years with stuff that was adjacent to referendum work. And the commitment is then we will still be spending money in 28, 29, 30. That's when we can clean up some of that other stuff.
So that's my thing. I don't want you to get pushed back because we're gonna pick things that are pretty, and then the community's gonna be like, oh, look, our playground's set, but hey, our pumps aren't working, you know, and so I don't wanna fall into that track again where you have things that need to get done. We should be taking, it is a priority, obviously, for our schools to be functioning, and sometimes we don't think about the inner pieces and stuff like that. So I guess that's my thing is, I don't want you to be replaced. Your needs are just as important as the pretty things that we're doing. So,
Sure.
Yep.
So I guess that's my plea, is don't push your stuff behind, but like you said, if you have operational funds to cover these things, that's great, so.
And I think that's the difference, right, is the ongoing operations budget, right, and replacement of things versus those really big ticket items. But we can certainly come back to the board or share out with the board, probably not everything, that would be exhaustive for Mark and the team to put together, like every single item, you know.
The critical ones.
But the critical ones,
dollar
to come
amount.
back with some dollar amounts.
And I guess my other ask is, Mark is gonna know that this pump is still okay,
Correct.
working operation, I mean, and this one is, you're having problems year after year. You know, where's the hierarchy on the critical list?
Well, and that's the other question, is it critical just because it's well past its useful life, versus it's in a critical state where it's non-operational or intermittent
Correct.
operating?
Yeah,
So I
and
think it's more of a useful life critical.
That comment is a useful life critical.
Okay,
It's,
that's-
okay, we're well past when a typical pump would operate. So it's critical. We need to consider replacing it sooner rather than later. But
Yeah.
it's not a high dollar piece of the puzzle. So it's one of those things that we can try and absorb if we have to. If it does become critical because it's actually critical,
Yep.
we can absorb that through our O&M. Not saying there's nothing on that list that doesn't need a second look, but some of those items, like an exhaust fan, is a pretty standard, short lead time, small dollar relative to playground safety surfacing.
I just want to change the transition that we've put you
Yeah.
kind of on the background, because you're MacGyver, you fix everything, and you have so many connections
Well,
that
my
you're like, you can
staff
keep
is.
things living forever, yeah, and so, and then when we are critical, you're like, well, this actually needed to be replaced 10 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Kind of been saying it, and that we've had the track record, we've probably pushed things away
Sure.
because we had other things that popped up that maybe we could have said no to that and said yes to you. So I just want us to be mindful of that we don't do that anymore.
Understood.
So the one thing I don't see on here, Mark, is the scoreboard at the high school. I only bring that up because I've been to 2 games and it's taken a crap both games.
Which is the football
Inside,
track scoreboard,
inside
or-
the main gym.
The East Gym.
Oh, that's relatively new.
Yeah. The one in Houston?
Yeah.
Wasn't working?
Yeah,
Like the
I've been to
digital
2 games and it's, yes, the digital
Really?
one.
I've not been made aware of any
Okay.
major issues with it, so perhaps it was user error or something at the time, I don't know.
We can follow up with Mr. Roll.
Yeah.
He was at
Find
both
out about
games.
that.
So I'm,
Yeah, I think the question there is that a hardware thing?
Yeah.
Or is that a software thing?
yeah,
Right, the more complex something is,
Yeah.
the more likely it's connected to the internet and.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
The old lights are easier to predict.
So, we've had a lot of discussions on parking lots over the years, so from criticality of these parking lots, and I know we're talking about referendum adjacent type, projects and stuff like that, is it because we're gonna have people in there tearing up the playgrounds, so it makes sense to jump on the
So
parking
this-
lots? Is it a
so
safety
this-
concern?
Mark and I had extensive discussion about the parking lots, and I think one of the things that we really need to make sure is that we are maintaining and adhering to our replacement schedule on the parking lots,
Okay.
because they do get very costly to fix, right? And so really making sure that we're doing the resurfacing, the crack filling, all of that stuff as needed. That has been a commitment. But this parking lot that you see on here is overdue to be replaced. And so that's why we are saying, like, we really need to stay on those due rise to sort of that safety operational need. So
It's
that's
a
why those two are on there.
23-year-old
Yeah.
parking lot, and it hasn't been resurfaced. It's been crack filled and seal coated, but it's never been
Got
resurfaced,
it.
so.
So after these next 2 years of parking lot replacement, are we pretty much up to date on parking lots at that point, or we still got some other
Well,
stuff?
that's an ongoing, I mean.
That will be
Well, no, I know
ongoing.
replacements are,
Right.
you know, that's research, or,
We'll have to do crack filling, restriping,
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I'm talking about
and-
full replacements with the drainage and all this other stuff.
Yeah, with the high school work happening, with the referendum, hopefully that, takes care of, like, that next replacement cycle. So
Okay.
then we'll be on to maintaining for, a decade or more.
Dr. Bowden, help me, maybe my memory's faulty, but I seem to think that these are much higher numbers than we usually come back for the summer projects, about
So-
500,000 or so more, right?
So
Maybe more.
compared to last year,
Yeah.
yes, but we significantly cut that budget. Prior, the district had been spending about $1 million per year.
Okay, yeah.
The last time I did projections, one of the things that we talked about was, okay, for the upcoming year, we're looking to cut the budget, right? We're gonna go down to about $500,000 in spending for capital projects because we had this referendum question sort of looming. As part of that, and maybe no one remembers this, but I did say the eventual goal is that we actually need to be spending more on
Yeah.
capital maintenance ongoing. And so the goal was to get back up to sort of that 1 million, 1.5 to 2.5 million eventually. We can't do it all in 1 year. This year is definitely a little bit bigger of a lift, but I put everything on there sort of like, okay, this would be the all-in dollar amount that we think it's gonna be, to have that discussion,
Yeah, so
so
the ultimate goal is, you said 2.5, is that what you said?
eventually, yeah. I mean, like, not next year
No, no,
or
no,
anything
yeah.
like that, but eventually when we think about like just ongoing maintenance and making sure that we're adhering to those
Sure.
replacement schedules, that's really what we need to be
Yeah.
doing.
I thought the number historically had been around 1 million, but I remember
Correct.
last year we did have to slash, we cut a lot of places.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure.
Thanks for helping with my memory.
Yeah, I'm less worried about the dollar amount, just to make sure that the priority list makes sense. It's
Sure.
not just cosmetic stuff, because we're getting some other pretty stuff here, we wanna make sure that this is pretty too. And I know that it's not just that, but, from the public standpoint too, is we have to make sure that we're talking through and understanding why this is priorities that it is. And especially with the stuff, other stuff on the critical, understanding it's not critical because it's about to crap out, it's critical because from a useful life standpoint. So just knowing that you're getting what you need to make sure that all these buildings are operational. At the end of the day, right, what's going on inside of the school is most important with the students, the learning and the safety, if it's doors or proper bathrooms or, stairwell treads so nobody's falling down, that sort of thing. The parking lots I get, there is a safety thing there, but.
So I think-
Think for parking lots after all of our discussions.
I know. So I do hear, I think from the board, a request, a want to come back with some additional information that maybe Mark and I can have a discussion. We can look back through this list and then I can share that information out, probably maybe Friday, but if not in the next weekly.
Yeah, and I don't think I'll speak for myself, but I don't think we're asking for you guys to itemize every single thing and every
Sure.
single dollar amount from the critical standpoint. But I think some of the critical stuff, just making sure that it is purely a useful life and maybe not something that we really shouldn't nip in the bud now and put it into a capital project this year and next year. And some of those dollar amounts, or some of them you could even put, a check mark next to as far as this would be a regular R&M stuff. This does not need to be capital anyway, because I think that's where the list is a little daunting. If this is all capital, it's like, oh gosh,
Right.
maybe we can go 27 years for a parking lot as opposed to 23, so we can knock some of this stuff out
Right.
of there. I think that's more of it, from at least from my standpoint.
Sure.
The playground, just as I was thinking about this, there is like an academic or curricular issue too, right? That some of these playgrounds are so bad that they have to have indoor recess then, right? And so then if you like talk to like a third grade elementary school teacher, they're pretty upset about that, right? Is that true?
Yeah, well, a lot of, because we have, first of all, a lot of our schools are in low-lying areas.
Yeah.
And
Welcome to
I mean,
the-
that's what schools
Yeah,
are, right?
yeah,
That's,
yeah.
but when we have the traditional mulch, when it rains, it is a mud pit. And I know specifically like at Blackberry Creek, just because I've had a number of conversations with Ms. Ward about this, is when it rains, like they really can't even go outside, or they have to stay on the,
Right.
the
Blacktop.
blacktop out there, because you kick the wood chips out of the way and there's the mud.
Right.
Right, and then, you know, to Dr. Bogan's point, when we have students that have, you know, concerns with movement,
Sure.
some of our students that have, you know, physical restrictions, this allows for, you know, whether it's pour in place or it's the turf, it allows for a much better experience in that capacity, but also it's an opportunity to make sure all of our kids get what they need during that other time of the day too.
Well, I'd imagine, I'm not an elementary school teacher, but if I was an elementary school teacher, I would want my kids to go outside
I
and
would
run
imagine
around a
you
lot.
would. I imagine I would too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like I said, I don't know, spending thousands of hours trying to find every single dollar and all that stuff, but maybe just a little comprehensive review of like what's critical, some of the dollar amounts in that, or what's just gonna be regular R&M, or however that works out, just so we have a better understanding.
Yeah. I can definitely get that to this group.
Thank you.
Anybody
Sure.
else?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
There is no action required for the discussion of capital planning. The second item of new business is the discussion of maintenance department positions. Dr. Bogan, please provide more information.
Yeah. I'm actually going to turn this one over to Dr. Atkins.
Excellent, thank you. And like our preceding item, this is discussion for the board to be brought back at our next meeting and consent. I think the conversation you just had is serendipitous and speaks to why we're here. This is a district with a lot of facilities, and this memo is circling around a variety of things that I need to thank people for. I'm going to first and foremost start with Mr. Payton, I believe MacGyver, right? That is true, and as a director, the hands-on component that Mark brings day to day is beyond the pale. The work done by our directors is to be applauded. Member Stahlkup, you mentioned like knowing specific valves and those kinds of things. He does. But the challenge is with all of the things that go on in the district, he maybe should be more global than that. And Mr. Payton's Mr. Payton. He'll always have that firsthand knowledge. That's just who he is. At the same time, the infrastructure, the behind-the-scenes component is unsustainable. We have had conversations about adding to our maintenance staff since I came here over a decade ago. And it's always been something, again, to that point about kind of maybe looking at it as a, okay, not now, but later. But with the referenda, there is no later, it is now. So when we look at what we have in this district, we are understaffed like many other support services or behind-the-scenes services that we have in the district. We have to thank not only Mr. Payton, but his 8 staff members. They work tirelessly, they're jack of all trades, they do everything, they're all MacGyvers in and of themselves. But when we do our comparative to other districts and to the corporate norm, we should have somewhere between 12 and 16 staff members in the maintenance department. We can't, that's not in the cards for us, but we do need some sort of relief. In addition to those 8 people that work in the maintenance department, we have 2 administrators who are here for administrative, school administrative purposes that serve roles in, alongside Mr. Payton. That'd be Mr. Rollman and Mrs. Weiss here at the middle school. They serve as kind of site supervisors, if you will, that have that day-to-day operational component that they work hand in hand with Mark on when they do that on top of their regular duties as well. Additionally, we have some members in the business office on the business office support staff that we need to thank, because they do the accounts payable, the ordering, the budgets and bid openings and all these different things, and everybody in the business office plays a different part in addition to their roles. And so as we looked at this and how to best alleviate this as we go into a very large referenda and capital improvement process, which we need to thank our community for, we need to have some more staff for the maintenance department. So in talking with Mark and talking with Jackie, what we're looking to do is to add 2 roles. One being a maintenance department secretary. I was hoping he would bring it tonight, but he didn't. Mark's been living out of a backpack and running a referenda out of a backpack. I give the man credit. We need a secretary. He needs a secretary. The amount of things that are already being ordered and will continue to be ordered, organized, processed, checked in, coordinated is beyond the pale. Mark needs support with that. We need a secretary for the maintenance office. That person would take over a large part of those duties that our business services staff are currently doing, and that Mark himself is doing. Additionally, we need a facility campus coordinator. That facility campus coordinator would work at our 3 largest sites. Well, it depends on if you call KMAC a separate site from the high school, but the high school campus and the middle school campus. And they would serve as that person who knows all the singular valves and can talk to Mark about life usage and that kind of thing. And so a lot of what you're asking for and talking about here, Mark is doing in addition to, I see him turning wrenches, carrying boxes. That's unsustainable. We can't do that. So the maintenance department is in desperate need of that secretarial position, that facility campus coordinator position. There is a cost involved, but the return on that investment is going to be significant for us, and it's going to help put our maintenance department in a position to be proactive versus reactive. And again, I think that was kind of a theme of the conversation that we just had. So that secretarial position would be a classified exempt position. It would not be part of SPEAK, as the other district office secretarial staff is as well. We're looking for a budget of about $57,000 for that, and that would include pay rate and benefits. And then the facility campus coordinator, we'd be looking at about $82,000, and that would be, again, salary and benefits. So those 2 investitures for our capital, our human capital, go alongside with the work that we're doing with the referenda. It was needed 10 years ago. It was needed 9 years ago. It was needed 8 years ago. It's needed now. So we're hopeful that with the conversation we're going to have now, that we can bring this back on the consent agenda at the next meeting. Questions, comments, thoughts?
Yes, I think this is an excellent idea, Dr. Atkins. The one question is just, I'm making sure there's office space. There's office space.
Yeah,
available.
they located over at KMAC.
Okay.
They can all have their own classroom if they want.
Yep, perfect. Yep. We have that
Space
space.
is one thing we have.
Yeah.
We have that space.
I just want to, obviously thank the team for putting this together, but this is really, we talk about, we're making a $140 million investment in our facilities, a lot of it over at Kaneland High School, and making sure that we have the right bodies and knowledge and skill in place to maintain that for, the future, to make sure that that investment lasts.
Correct.
That preventative maintenance is so much more important than the, waiting till something breaks to fix it. So that's really what this ask is about.
What would be the process if we say next week or next meeting that yes, we're in favor and to onboard these people? What's kind of the timing? And
We'd finalize the job descriptions. We'd post for anywhere from 5 to 10 days in a variety of different places. We would probably need to transcend the typical AppleTrack posting that we utilize, because we're not going to, that's more for the education field. We're looking for expertise outside of that. So Indeed, those kinds of devices and social media platforms. We'd have it posted for X amount of time, and then conduct interviews similar to what we've done with paper screening, in-person screening, some sort of group interview process, and then final determinations. I'm hoping to put people in as soon as possible. We have not fleshed out an itemized timeline yet, but I could easily envision these people being in place before the summer. Sooner rather than later.
We're looking to hire from outside our district, or we
Open.
don't have a preference? Okay.
Open. There's no preference at this point in time. The board hasn't approved the positions yet. I'm sure once it is,
Yeah.
if there are internal candidates, we'd give them the same courtesy that we give
Sure.
our teaching staff and our support staff.
There's no action necessary for the discussion of maintenance department positions. The third item of new business is approval of school bus purchase for 26-27. Dr. Bogan, again, if you could provide more.
Yes, so I do want to thank the Transportation Department. Davis Espy really took the lead on this process this year in working with potential vendors and really just going through and getting quotes and all of that entails. And so he did a wonderful job. At the start of this, we did talk about what the needs of the fleet were. Last year, as you may remember, we did significantly decrease the number of buses we purchased. We purchased 2 full-size buses, 1 activity bus, and then 1 activity van. That was later. That's going over well. We've had good feedback. I think our coaches and teachers definitely appreciate driving the smaller vehicle versus the larger one. And it also frees up some time with our drivers as well. So we do want to make sure, though, that we are maintaining the age of our fleet, that we're not getting to a point where things are over 10 years old on average, things like that. And one of the reasons for that is really and truly the number of miles that our buses do every year. Typically, we put anywhere from 17 to 20,000 miles on a bus per year. So with a district our size, that is pretty typical. So we want to make sure that we're maintaining the fleet. The other thing that we're seeing, the cost of buses continues to rise, and so we did look at, okay, what would an outright purchase of a brand new bus look like? That's not a direction that we would recommend to the board. 1, the bid process is time consuming. 2, right now there aren't a lot of makers, there aren't a lot of manufacturers right now that we could tap into. And the overall cost of a brand new bus exceeds $150,000. So we have definitely seen an increase in that. What we did do this year is we looked at, again, 1-year-old buses. What we usually see, and what our mechanics will both tell you, is that if you're going to have problems with a new bus, usually you find it in that first year. And so we're really fortunate. We would be getting these buses through Midwest Transit, which is a supplier that we've used in the district for many years, in addition to Central States. But I did include the quote. It would be an outright purchase per vehicle of $119,978, and we would be looking this year to trade 4 of our existing vehicles. We are getting a higher price than we have seen in the past. In the past, we've seen anywhere from $4,500 to about $8,000. So we're getting a very good trade value on our existing buses. Tonight, I'm asking the board to approve this a purchase not to exceed $500,000. You'll notice on here that the total purchase price of this with the trades is actually $431,912. We potentially would be looking to purchase another activity van. We're waiting to get some additional feedback from coaches throughout the winter and then also the spring season, just so that we can go back and see how often is it actually being utilized. Is it worth to make another investment in that? And what some additional return is from the district. So whether it's driver time, things like that we're looking at. So with all of that being said, this is the current quote. Some of this could change, not from a quote perspective, but if I find out in a couple of weeks that we know the proration isn't looking good for next year, or that something else is happening in terms of funding, we would bring this back to the board and adjust it down. It would not exceed the 500,000. So, but what questions can I answer?
Has the district at all looked into electric buses? Is that a good economic model? I know West Aurora got a
Yes.
big grant for it. I don't know if there are grant opportunities.
Yes, so I will say, so there are definitely grant opportunities out there for certain school districts. And so one of the challenges that we run into is that we are not the target population for some of those federal grants. Many of them are situated in either urban or low income areas, and we don't qualify in that way. The second thing is that we really do need to look at is our overall size of the district. So even though West Aurora is a larger school district, their square mileage is about 30 compared to our 142. So one of the projects and one of the things that Mr. Epsy worked on last year was, okay, if we were to go to the electric bus route, knowing, you know, sort of the number of miles those buses can run on a single charge or at least a partial charge, what routes do we have that we could run with an electric bus? And we have possibly one route based on mileage that we could run that electric bus. So for us in this district right now, from a financial perspective, because we wouldn't be able to take advantage of grants, we're not eligible for those grants, and because we would need to figure out something with additional infrastructure, because we would have to have charging stations in multiple locations, and buses would need to charge throughout the day. It would be very costly for
Okay.
us to do.
Sounds
So,
good.
but that's a really
Well.
that's a really great question.
And you're still, like, the bus that is going all the way to Montgomery right now, next year or like a couple years later will be the one that's just only going to like Blackberry, right? You
We are
rotate.
always looking to, like, one of the things that's really important, if a kid has a student has a long ride in the morning, you know, because they're first on, well, they're first off in the afternoon. So the transportation department really does strive to make sure that kids don't have long routes both ways.
Yeah, I wasn't mentioning that. That's not what
yeah.
I meant. The use of the buses. You know,
Yes, like rotating through which buses
you're
you
rotating the buses. So
Yeah.
like the bus this year that is driving all the way to Montgomery, next year like they'll use that route for a couple of years, and then
Yes,
it'll
they
get
do
down to a
rotate.
smaller route, and so the buses are
Even out
lasting
the wear.
longer. Yeah.
Correct.
So, I know. Lincoln on the word.
Yeah.
Even out the wear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
even out the
do a
word.
rotation.
Yeah. So.
Do all the other school buses have the camera?
All of our school buses have cameras.
Everyone does?
Correct, yep.
I don't know why.
you do on the next trip.
What's that?
Better watch what you do.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right? Jeez.
Don't pass our school buses when they're stopped, because we do have cameras and we do report people, so.
No, I saw that in there, that it comes with the cameras
Yeah.
not installed, if you have to
Yep.
install them, but I didn't think about that, I guess. You know, I rode the school bus for a long time, so.
Anytime, we'd love to put you on a bus.
Anybody else? Good. I will entertain a motion that the Board of Education directs the administration to proceed with the purchase of 4 one-year-old 78 passenger buses and to explore options for an additional activity vehicle not to exceed 500,000.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Dr. Lawler?
Aye.
Mr. Stallcup?
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky?
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner?
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. The approval of the school bus purchase is approved.
Great. It is now time for the Superintendent Board Report. Dr. Rowland, do you have anything to share?
I do. We've been pretty busy since the last meeting, so got together with Ms. Schroll this afternoon and we broke it all out. Excited that the freshman basketball team is undefeated and has brought home 3 tournament championships this year. The varsity competitive cheerleading team recently took first place in their division at the St. Charles Invitational. The girls wrestling team won their 3rd annual night invite, the Winter Classic over break. The KHS Drama Club participated in Theater Fest this past weekend at Illinois State University, where we got to celebrate sophomore Jack Bicker, who was in the All-State musical Newsies. As you may recall, we saluted him at a previous meeting. Coming up, the Winter Play Quest will take place in the Black Box Theater with performances on Friday at 7, Saturday at 7, and Sunday at 2. Tickets must be purchased ahead of time due to limited seating in the Black Box. So go on the Kaneland High School website for tickets if you're interested in attending. Boys Bowling is participating in the I-8 conference meet today, and then will be in the Sterling Regional on Saturday. Boys and girls wrestling will celebrate senior night this Thursday at their home meet versus Morris. Kaneland Chess Program is going to host the Northern Illinois Chess League conference meet on Saturday in the West Gym. And the Mathletes will be hosting the I-8 Conference Mathlete competition on Thursday over at KMAC. Additionally, our girls wrestling will host Ottawa this Friday at NIU, so they're getting the chance to wrestle at the NIU facility, where we're hoping they beat Ottawa pretty good. And then boys wrestling will have their 16-team Margaret Flott Invitational this Saturday. Additionally, as Ms. Reeder mentioned, Kaneland is currently holding Unified Food Drive to support our community with our partners KEA and Speak. Students are being asked to contribute at the schools, and each grade has a specific item they're asked to bring in, so we can pack, like a whole grocery package. Monetary donations to help supplement the efforts may be made on our Kaneland website, and more information is available on the Kaneland School District's main page. Additionally, with the personnel report tonight, the board approved Ms. Nicole Bacalus as the next Director of Special Education. She will be replacing the Fran Eggleston when she retires at the end of this school year. So we will have her at the next meeting where we will recognize and salute her. And then just as an update, the construction update at the next meeting will be done with our architect partner Wold and our construction partner Nicholas, and they'll give a pretty in-depth overview of what's going on, what to expect, and they're gonna talk that time instead of me. So that's what I have. Go Knights.
Great.
Cool.
Okay.
Don't worry, mine's not that long. Good evening. This past week marks the beginning of second semester of the 2025-26 school year. Many students were excited to come back and jump into old and new classes, see friends, and get back into routines. But over winter break, student athletes were still busy representing Kaneland. The boys basketball team overcame the hard challenges that the Plano Christmas Classic tournament brings and won their third championship in a row. And Kaneland now is the first school to win 6 championships in that tournament. The girls basketball team improved their record over break to 15-5 and continue to be undefeated in conference. This past Friday, the students and teams were busy. Student Council hosted their annual winter assembly where students and staff got to participate in games like musical chairs and wig snatching, while also getting to answer trivia questions for prizes. On Friday night, both boys and girls basketball teams played conference opponents, with boys defeating Sycamore 65-56 and the girls defeating Morris 42-39. Boys and girls wrestling just continues to be successful and will continue to compete in matches in January and February. And then clubs swing back into it with DECA and NHS having meetings last week, and the Student Council and Key Club having meetings this week. The student body is bringing energy for the second semester, and everyone is ready to work hard. Go Knights. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members?
I got one. So over Christmas break, at McDowell Elementary, the entire school hand drew 500 different Christmas cards. It started with Mrs. Stone, the 3rd grade teacher, and actually my wife's charity, the 311 Project, and they then hand delivered those cards to senior centers in the area. So they went to different senior homes, and the kids got to give the cards to the seniors, and they're all like, ah. So I just want to give a shout out to McDowell Elementary for awesome work.
Awesome. Good. All right, are there any topics for future agenda that the board would like to discuss? now time for the second round of public comments. Nope. Board of Education is scheduled for a closed session to discuss the Illinois Open Meetings Act, Section 2, Sub C 21, where there will be no action taken following the session. Therefore, after the vote to go into closed session, the recording of tonight's meeting will be concluded. I will entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss 2 Sub C 21 at 7:55 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call.
Mr. Mankivsky?
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner?
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons?
Aye.
Mr. Cook?
Aye.
Dr. Lawler?
Aye.
Mr. Stallcup?
Aye.
Mr. McCauley?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. It is now